Hello, this is Andrew from PayPal, and today I'm going to demonstrate how to integrate the new PayPal checkout in a typical e-commerce website. All right, so here we have a mock-up of a typical e-commerce setup, and we're just going to run through it real quick. So here we have a product page, which typically has the product you want to add to your cart, which then you can go to a shopping cart page, which shows what's currently in your cart, and there's a checkout button. Notice that the URL did change. And now we go to our shipping information. I'm just going to populate that. Select my shipping. Now we're on a payment page where you can select your payment. Select credit card. There's a credit card form, or you can select another payment method. I'll just select credit card. And then there is a review page where typically the customer will review the information. And when I click place order here, my order is actually placed, which we'll see here. All right, so now we're going to integrate the new PayPal checkout experience into this mock site. So first off, we're going to add a PayPal button to our product page. And I've already done the work for us, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. All right, so there are a couple different ways that we can perform the integration. And each way is just a different method of getting the PayPal token. So first off, we have a client, which is a full client-side integration where the JavaScript's actually requesting the PayPal token. We have a server with PayPal, which the server is actually going to request the token, and the client is just going to use an AJAX call to the server to request it using our PayPal library. And then I have a third one, which is the same, but only using jQuery to request the token from the web service. So let's take a look at the code for the client integration. I am going to inspect my current button here. And you'll see that the button itself is inside this span tag with an ID of PayPal button client. And you'll see that the button itself is actually rendered inside an iframe. So it is a hosted button. And you'll see that I added the PayPal JavaScript library. All right, so let's take a look at the code for the client integration. So here you'll see my client integration code. I call paypal.button.render, which is actually going to render the PayPal button for me. The client property is where you put your sandbox and production client REST application client IDs. If you don't have a REST application, there is another video documenting how to do that. You should see the annotation above. My environment I'm setting to sandbox for now. The payment callback is a very important callback in the new PayPal checkout experience. It must resolve a PayPal token. So this is the client-side integration, so I'm actually using the JavaScript to do this for me. There's an actions that's passed to payment. So I'm using actions.payment.create, and I'm creating my transaction with an amount, currency, my redirect URLs, where I want to go after the flow is done. And it actually returns a promise, and when it resolves, I am just returning the response. So I'm going to set a breakpoint here so we can actually see what response is. It's actually going to be the pay ID. And if there's an error, I'm catching and throwing it. Unauthorized is the second important callback for the new PayPal checkout experience. It's executed after the user clicks continue in the PayPal flow, and it is passed data and actions. So I'm going to go ahead and put a breakpoint here so we can see what data and actions are. I'm also logging them to the console. Inside here, I'm using actions.redirect, which is just going to redirect me to my return URL that I specified up here. Alternatively, you could do this on your own by using window.location.href and the data from the data variable. Beyond cancel callback is called if the user closes the pop-up or clicks the cancel and return URL. The on-error callback is executed if there are any errors during the process. And then you give the ID of the DOM element where you want the button rendered. In this case, we use that PayPal button client ID. So then we also have a server with PayPal library integration here. And you can see this code below. So for this integration, we're actually using the server to generate the PayPal token, so we don't have a client property. And inside the payment callback, we are using an AJAX call via the PayPal library, so paypal.request.post, which makes a post request to the REST API create endpoint. This endpoint actually just returns the response from the PayPal REST API call. So I just return response ID. But we'll put a breakpoint here so you can see that. And once again, in the unauthorized callback, I am simply returning actions.redirect. And you don't have to use the PayPal library to request the token from the web service. You can use any other JavaScript library out there. The PayPal library isn't very robust, so I did a quick example here with jQuery as well. So really the only difference here is I'm returning a new PayPal promise and using jQuery to make the AJAX call to the post URL. And on success, I am simply resolving the response ID or rejecting the error. Everything else stays the same. All right, so let's take a look quick at the client. Go ahead and click the button. All right, so you'll see that the JavaScript actually made that API call for us. And the response was a pay ID, so that's why I'm just returning the response. Let's hit continue here. So when I hit close here, the on cancel is actually going to execute, which you'll see here. All right, so now I'm going to show you the server integration quick. This time when I click my PayPal button, you will see that I made a API call to my server, the create route. Our breakpoint here, the response was the result of the PayPal REST API call, which you'll see here. So that's why I'm returning response.id, because that's the pay ID. So when I hit continue here, the unauthorized is going to fire, and we're going to hit my breakpoint. As you see here, and I just want to show you what data is. So you can use any of this data in your application if you need it. Actions is an object with some pre-built functions, in which case we're going to use the actions redirect function to redirect us to the return URL. All right, so when we land on the return URL, you'll see that the shipping address is now pre-populated from PayPal. And we skip the payment page onto the confirmation page. When I click place order, it will actually execute the payment. And you'll see that we got a transaction ID. All right, so now we added our button to the product page. Let's go ahead and add it to the shopping cart page. So when we get to the shopping cart, let me turn on the integration. And once again, there are different ways that you can integrate here. Just like on the product page, we have the client, the server with PayPal, or the server with jQuery or any other HTTP library. The code behind this is actually exactly the same as on the product page, so I don't really need to go through it. Just wanted to show you, again, the flow off of the shopping cart. And the last place we want to place that PayPal button is on the payment page. So I'm going to go ahead and get to there. All right, and I'll go ahead and turn on the PayPal integration. So you see once the PayPal integration is turned on that we have a new radio button for PayPal. So now if I click credit card, we'll see a credit card form. If I click PayPal, you'll see that I rendered a PayPal button over here. Now it's important to note that you have to launch the PayPal flow by a rendered button. You can no longer launch it by clicking this continue button, so I actually disable the continue button and I just have a PayPal button that's rendered. And once again, you can integrate this in multiple ways. I have the client, the server with PayPal, and server with jQuery. But the code behind it is very similar, so we're just going to go over the client code here. You will want to use probably the same method that you used on the product and the cart page. So let's take a look at the code here. You'll notice it's almost exactly the same as off the product page, except for I added a shipping address. Since the user had already submitted the shipping address previously on your website, we're going to assume they want to use that address. And I am adding this experience property and address override, which will prevent the user from actually changing the address at PayPal. And the rest of it's exactly the same. I'm returning the pay ID. In the unauthorized function, I am calling actions.redirect, but this time I'm actually redirecting us to the confirm page. All right, so let's go ahead and click the button. And you'll notice now I can't actually change my address. So when I click continue here, the unauthorized will be called and we'll be redirected to the confirmation page. And I place my order and it is successful. And that is it for this integration video. For more information, take a look at the video's description on YouTube and stay tuned for more integration videos in the future.